Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Skritt. I'm your host John, better known as Zare around Yaxben. We have a fantastic show for you. I'm just hitting all the buttons today. ArenaNet says they are not rolling out expansions. More cool stuff around the Icebrood Saga and more potential WvW Balance changes and much more. But first, let me introduce you to my fellow host. He streams over on Twitch where he answers the age-old question. Some might be bummed about the announcement because they feel it didn't answer some of their questions like, why does Thief still exist? Say hello to Age. I know.
Because everyone needs a scapegoat.
There has to be a whipping boy.
Perfect answer.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Welcome to another glorious episode.
Mm-hmm. And she writes for MMORPG.com, an editor over at Virtually Interrupted, and also her own site, MMORly.com. Maybe if we get a bear spirit mastery, she will be able to roar on across any of her characters. Say hello to Robin.
Hi. Yay.
Well, so
I know.
And, we're going to talk about the announcement stuff again. We'll probably get their insights since they weren't here last week as well, but we're going to kind of focus on kind of the aftermath of the discussions that people have had back and forth, because we did have trouble hitting that last week because there was a lot to unpack. But in the end, I know people were good with it last week. Like, let's not point the finger at any particular dev or anything like that. Like, just be respectful on both sides. So just as a quick reminder, I think we briefly mentioned it last week, but they kind of teased it the week before, was the expansion boost special event, which definitely makes sense now since they grouped everything up. But basically, if you're watching this live and this is new to you, it's currently happening. It started, I believe, this past Tuesday. But until September 17th, you'll gain double Master Experience in Heart of Thorns, Living World Season 3, Path of Fire, and Living World Season 4 maps. So just as a little quick reminder that hopefully those will be more filled and just so people can get some of their mastery out of the way.
Yeah, I was going to say my main problem is I need to do the things to get the points. I have a lot of filled lines, but I can't close them out to get the next one because I need to actually go do the points and the various different things that get you those.
Yeah, I have that problem, I think, too, where it's not that hard getting the experience for me. It's like, everything gives you experience. We've always talked about that.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of trains to help people out, I guess. So that's good.
But yeah, let's talk about the announcement on the 30th and kind of the whole Icebrood Saga discussion in general that's kind of happening, which I guess first off, since you guys weren't here last week, like, kind of real quick, what are your guys' thoughts on the announcement?
Go ahead, H, since you were there.
Yeah, I was there.
Oh, that's right. You were there.
Yeah, you probably couldn't see me as I was on the side, which is perfect. So I went in just expecting living story stuff, nothing more, nothing less. As I've said many times previous to going, I was keeping my expectations low, and anything else was a bonus. So for me, it was like, okay, cool. And then that was pretty much it. Someone asked me on Twitter what was like the atmosphere after the announcement. I was like, no, everyone was just walking out, chill, talking. I know this one dude wanted to roll as well stuff. So, but yeah, it's just like I didn't expect any World World stuff. I didn't expect any Fractal stuff, Raid stuff, PvP stuff. Just expected Living World news, and that was okay for me. Strike missions were interesting, and I said I was going to bring this up because it's people are considering it like kind of easy mode.
Well, I mean, they did say that at the announcement that it was, well, there, I think verbiage was they know raids are too stressful
Mhm.
for a lot of the player base. So that was their wording, that they felt it was too stressful. They didn't say easy, but it could be,
Mhm.
Yeah.
reworked to say that.
So
And
from what from my understanding, this is a new type of feature that they're going to put in, but at this point I want them to commit to a feature, because it seems like after 2 years they kind of just like don't support it as much.
Right.
I mean, you can look at dungeons, you can look at fractals, you can look at raids, you can look at
Or that PvP map that they did that was like
stronghold.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. I could not
So
remember what it was called.
it's like they need to commit to it, because and I feel like they should commit to fractals and raids too. Stronghold, I think, can get a pass just because not a lot of people play it, but like I understand
Right.
like it. But if you're gonna put in a new mode like this, you have to support it, like, and you have to support it throughout, like, even because there's no point in adding another mode that you're not going to support 2 years
Right.
down the road, in my opinion. So that's kind of my concern right there when that was introduced. The story itself seems interesting. We're gonna have a few new characters. The focus is going to be on Char and Norn, which a lot of people have been asking for. So it's gonna be uh, I am actually kind of it's not Cantha, but like I'm excited to explore the Shiver Peaks, the Char homeland, see what's new there from either North, and yeah, uh, of course there was like merchandise stuff, but like whatever for me. I want that art book though. That art book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got pretty much.
I was gonna say it's pretty much the same for me. Like I kind of wanted the big oh my god announcement, but I didn't want it to be expansions, and I don't know what the oh my god announcement that's not an expansion would have been. So I recognized my desires were a little crazy. So I was fine with the announcement. I'm curious about it because I really thought we had reached a point where we're maybe not done with the dragons. The focus would be other places, and now it seems like we're going back to at least Jormag.
That's what I thought too. It was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole thing was like, I thought we put Jormag and Primordials to sleep? How did they wake up? Things like that, blah blah blah.
Right.
So we'll find
like,
out
what's going on now. Somebody go and throw stones at Jormag. Like what happened?
Yeah.
And then they've in that little magazine they put out, there was a bit about Bram is going to have to face repercussions for chipping the tooth and not killing Jormag, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think
they even said that a little bit on the show, or maybe even after. Or...
I don't think that was interesting to me too, because it's like repercussions. Like the dragon was put to sleep apparently. Like
yeah, but he was supposed to kill him, not put him to sleep.
That's the legend.
Yeah, but like it's time. You can formulate a plan to actually kill him. It's like, I
don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like it's going to be a little bit of like political intrigue, the same way Ritlock had when he came back with as a revenant, but we didn't get to see any of that. I'm hopeful we'll get to see more of what happens with Bram and dealing with that stuff. Because I like that kind of story content too. It's good to have a mix of that from just let's go kill this thing, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, that's what I'm excited for, is what's gonna be and I don't want to diminish them, but like to refer to them as like the side stories, because the main focus is dealing with the dragons to save Tyria, supposedly at this current thinking, but it is like all the stuff that's happening below that's the interesting part, like the interactions between different societies. And I think we were talking about it last week, was they talk up, like, that's why I'm excited for this prologue thing that they're doing, where it's like, all the Char factions are meeting up, and they listed all of them except for the Omicron, which they're technically are like, Are they going to
Yeah.
be demanded to be joining? Like, they're like, no, you have to join us now since we're now aware of you. And they're like, no, we're good with doing our own thing. Like, is that going to be a problem? Or so it's.
I hope the Omicron don't just get forgotten and left like, oh, they're a thing, but they're over here, whatever. I hope they keep coming up and are involved in things.
I do too. Like, especially because didn't Rox join them?
I don't know if she like officially joined, but she certainly had some kinship feeling there.
Yeah.
Like she really liked how they do things and how they worked. So that also could be interesting, like as a story thing, Rox and her tug of war between the Omicron and what she grew up with, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting because it seems like the Omicron are like more sea people.
Mm-hmm.
So the Char homelands aren't really close to that type of environment. So it's interesting to see if some of the Omicron actually want to go over there.
Yeah.
And like settle there. Like as roots of their homeland type of deal.
Right.
So that'd be kind of interesting.
Well, even if they did that, like the Omicron have a completely different outlook than the rest of the Char we know. Like just the way they interact with the world and exist within it. It's 180 degrees from what the Char is. They're basically like, they don't go out looking for fights, basically, but if a fight finds them, they'll fight. And
See, I don't.
That's a much different.
And Chad's kind of agreeing with your concern there, is that they think that they'll be forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
My worry is that since Rox kind of sided with them, that maybe she'll be used as the mouthpiece and we won't see Omicron.
Yeah.
Type thing, like. But I mean, I feel like that would be such a miss if they don't have some kind of Omicron interaction, since they are going to the Norn and Char areas. And
right.
I mean, and you say it doesn't really it's not a really good environment, like water wise. It's like, I mean, if you think about it, that's where Kralkatorga rides. We got a big gaping hole there, and it's been a lush area. Like maybe we have a big, maybe we have a big lake there.
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows? But
yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with it. I did kind of hope that there would be some announcement about the next world versus world thing, like this is what we're doing and this is when we're doing it kind of thing, because we've been waiting for so long for anything. But I also didn't really expect it. Like I wanted it, but I didn't think there was any likelihood of it,
Yeah. And I know like how Chat's kind of talking about like what they were hoping to hear some kind of news about. And like I'd like to explore that idea, like, and I know a lot of people were disappointed the hype. Well, they're saying that the hype that ArenaNet kind of built up, which I've seen the same arguments thrown around that they're the ones hyping up, and for me, I thought it was like, they told us about an announcement, but in the end, it was the player base that hyped it up to what.
Yeah.
It being, and I was guilty of it too. I was throwing out ideas. Granted, I think I said last week how none of ours came true except for build templates, which I think was pretty much. I felt like it was definitely going to be announced or talked about as an official. It's coming soon, but yeah, some of the arguments I've seen about them being the ones that hyped it up, type of thing, is. The Heart of Thorns announcement, which was an expansion, was done in a theater as well, which it's like,
that's us drawing false equivalencies,
but yeah, and you kind of match it with, and I see people using this as the argument, but I think that's an argument against it, is the POF one was a pre-recorded announcement.
Right.
So it wasn't in a theater. Like, once again, it's kind of not consistent in, at least in that line of logic.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we see what we want to see and what other people or companies do. So it's worth remembering it.
Yeah. And we are getting to that. There was a countdown timer. does that warrant an expansion? I've seen countdown timers for loads of stuff.
Yeah.
The thing is, this is why I like, given what we've been seeing recently with like content, it's like it didn't make sense to hype up anything else than what they said.
Right.
Like, to me, that just made sense. Now, to other people, I can understand with like all the things that they've done in the past, blah blah blah. But with the hot announcement, they didn't really say what they're announcing. And then they announced everyone just speculated it was an expansion. POF.
Right, well, they said specifically it had to do with the next living story.
Yeah.
So
no. I mean, for hot.
Oh no! I thought you meant this presentation.
Yeah, I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm talking about for like other stuff. So like the first one, before they announced hot as an expansion, like they just announced they had something new to show.
Right.
For POF, they actually said it was an expansion. The countdown timer was like, it just, I guess that could hype it up, but
I mean, but it was of an image of, basically PvE content. Like, I could see if it was like that clearly looks like a World v World tower or something, like, and then you are expecting unless they are announcing Jormag just slipped into he fell so far asleep that he slipped into a mist portal and is now in the mists, or
but like that countdown, for me, it's like I wouldn't have found out about the countdown if I just randomly went on Jebro's channel to see if it was streaming, because I saw he was like hosting someone. I was like, oh, he's hosting Ghost too. Oh, there's a countdown timer. Oh, okay, cool. But for me, it's like I was traveling, so it didn't matter as much to me. I wasn't paying attention to like all the nuances that people saw, things like that. The expansion level features throughout Living Story, I just assumed that was just going to be a thing now. So it's like, I understand people want to be hyped for more, but I just took it as face value. Just given what I've seen in the past couple months, given what they said directly every single time is just Living Story stuff. I'm like, okay, so it's just Living Story stuff. If they announce anything else, that'll be bonus. And that's it for me.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely get to the magazine, but
what
about the Saga's expansion level?
I think that's just like a term that they're using.
Yeah, that's the awkward thing that I wish they would have maybe clarified what is a Saga versus Living Story, which it made it sound like it was kind of like they were like, oh, anything can happen in the Saga, so it's almost like scheduled Living World season 1, which is kind of weird to say. Like season 1 was kind of like all over the place, like no schedule, but it's like between this time frame of, granted we don't know when a Saga ends, but between this time frame that we're calling the Saga, anything could happen. It might be an update to this. It might just be small little dialogue that we used to be calling a current events thing, but it kind of is lumped together. It could be and then it kind of broadly left it open, like it could be, and this is why I don't want to hype anything up. People, because I think I saw people starting saying like, oh, they could drop in dungeons, they could drop in rig. I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes, pump the brakes.
Don't do that.
Let's not do this again. Like,
yeah, so like for me, Saga, until they say it differently, is just the name of the season, essentially. Maybe there'll be more episodes, maybe not. Maybe it'll be the same 6. Maybe there'll be more. But that's all I'm taking it as.
Well, we're getting build templates as and I would say that's expansion level content, because that is something a company would withhold. I honestly, and I this is the question I want to pose to everybody is, do they really have to show you something? Because when WoW and stuff does that, it is to make you pull out your wallet and pay. They don't have to make you do that. You're getting it, of course, if you have POF. Like, it's like they're not trying to get that money out of your wallet for that in particular. So that's always been my question going out for this.
So Carnifex has an interesting question. So, why have a grand announcement so something players already know is coming? Now this is kind of the interesting thing, and I think it has to do with the marketing strategy. It's not necessarily entirely catered towards us.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's like sometimes like we have to realize that sometimes. But
Mhm.
think about it, like they put this all over the place on social media. They put this sign on a theater that people walking around downtown Seattle during PAX
Mhm.
could see. And you know it was free for everyone, so it's
Yeah.
and you
It
know they hosted a
it
stream that was super popular. Apparently it was like, how many did it hit? Like
30,000, I want to say, somewhere around there.
30,000 people watching it. So
yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's gonna generate interest, or maybe people who have been away will come back and check it out. Maybe people who have like never played the game will come check it out, especially when they hear like you get all the expansion stuff. And
Right.
well, they
Well,
don't know
and
story,
like
living
to
story.
that point, I feel like rather than the living story being the big announcement was that they were bundling hot with POF, because that's a big thing. And that's really directed at people who've either not bought the game yet or haven't even tried and were thinking about it but didn't want to have to buy all of that content to catch up. Um, I feel like that was really the bigger deal part of it for everything.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know the metrics behind that announcement in particular, but that I feel like a lot of players who are kind of like, I don't want to buy like this or this, like which one should I buy type of deal. It's like now it's just one thing you buy. Um, I still think they should have an extra little bonus for Living World, like just
Mhm.
package it with it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like pay 10 more bucks to get all the Living World with it too. But
Mhm.
uh, I
And I
don't know.
know some people were disappointed because of what they didn't announce, which I've seen people saying it before, was no elite specs, which I still am on the stance that elites,
Uh,
we're not in any place to have more options. Like, the game's not balanced. And I know some people have said before, well, it's balanced in PvE. Well,
Mhm.
unfortunately, Mesmer has been like part of it has been removed from PvP. That's not balanced in any stretch of the imagination. I like, you have to look at all the game modes, and that's always been my
we're
stance.
we're getting closer to getting balance, but
Yeah.
I still think there's room for one more spec, but like per profession.
And yes, you're
But
right. Elite specs do add content for PvP and World, but if it's broken, don't. If you have a crack in something, they'll go, let's just rip it apart. Like, that'll fix
yeah,
it.
no,
Like,
QD before they released POF, Hot was like they'd spent a long time balancing Hot professions to a point where everything felt good,
Mhm.
and then when POF launched, everything went wacky again. And it's still a little bit wacky in my opinion, but I think it's getting closer to a point where we can possibly add more elite specs if they want.
Yeah.
and maybe that's why they're keeping on the down low. Is maybe it could be one of the things that drops during this saga, but they don't want to, because in the
Hype
past they've
it
been
up.
burned for this. Say, hey, we're thinking about doing it. It's just the professions aren't in a good place right now to release them.
Mhm.
But when they've talked in the past of, we're thinking about doing this, the player base goes, well, that's just proof that they're going to do it. It's like,
It's a
once
promise.
again, yeah, what we've talked about in the past is the Guild Wars 2 community never really gives the devs that leeway to say, hey, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I would love another spec because Deadeye I only feel like I can play in PvE, but
Which is
yeah,
fine. There are some specs that are
yeah,
like,
no, yeah, I totally understand, um, but it's like, yeah, I have to think, like you have to think about like, are we ready for 9 more specs
yeah.
and for another chaotic roundabout of, but I don't know. It's up to Arena, honestly, at this point to
Mhm.
decide
Yeah.
because, like, when Hot was like balanced, I think it was okay. We got this in a good place. Now we can actually like focus on the new elite specs for PLF.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they'll do the same thing. Like when POFs, like they think it's in a good space, it's like, okay, now we can focus on elite specs for X,
Right.
whatever, whenever they release it. That's how I feel they're going about it, because, and they're also doing this weird thing where they're changing core mechanics for some of the hot elite specs, like Chronomancer and Thief were recent ones.
Hmm.
So they changed like the F1 to F4 skills, which I don't know how people feel like that.
I mean,
Or just
I think we've talked about that in previous
it's
episodes.
actually, I'm not against actually introducing 1 or 2 more weapons. I'm actually not against that at all.
What kind of weapon types would you see that we don't have?
Either you give a profession an offhand for something that they don't have,
Mm-hmm.
or you introduce a new weapon, and you introduce 3 new weapons, and you give 1 weapon each to 3 professions each.
Mm-hmm.
That way, like, everyone feels like they get something new.
Right. Well, I don't think they're going to do the existing weapon to somebody who doesn't have it outside of the elite spec, because they've kind of established that goes.
Yeah, I think it'll be base.
But I was more wondering what kind of weapon types would you want to see added that we don't already have?
Polearm would be one. Chat, help me.
Nunchucks.
Yeah, chat said spear, polearm, crossbow.
Animate.
Mm-hmm.
Spear, polearm, crossbow. There you go. Great axe. There you go. There's a lot. Wow, some weapons would actually, like, because great axe I can see because it's like a 2-handed weapon. They can use the great sword animation probably.
Mm-hmm.
Spears and pole arms.
Knuckles.
Whips. I'm gonna be against whips and nunchucks just because I feel like it'll be hard to animate.
Yeah, that would be really hard to do well.
But yeah, crossbow would be good too, actually.
Oh no, you give my Norn knuckles, it's gonna be hard to animate because I'll be like, ow. My dog's going crazy for it.
Yeah, fist weapons are fun.
If you start fighting with Knuckles, you're gonna have to like sprout red fur everywhere on your character.
I was when you said it like that, I was like, is she gonna make a Sonic joke?
You have the nunchuck animation from Super $100. That's true. Maybe it could work then. I don't know.
But
because I feel like whips are weird. Like the chain whip sword.
Mm-hmm.
I know that has some wonky animations. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I know some people like, and I think what you said, age was the biggest concern. Like there was no mention of 5-man contact, fractals. Kind of the raids apart from the strike mission things, which I think what you said earlier was kind of the biggest thing is whatever they're doing, they gotta like stick with it because they have really, as you said it, introduced like they haven't nailed down group content, which at least finite group content, because I think the open world they've done great things, which is kind of group content without being in a group. But
yeah, it's like, and it's, I think that needs to be addressed the most because like recently thinking about it for the longest time, like ever since I came back from PAX, it's like, yeah, instance content has suffered a lot in open world PvE.
Yeah,
so it's just been like, I think all of the best supported one has been fractals, just because they've actually did an overhaul in terms of the reward system.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like maybe a year ago or something like that. But it's I feel like it's something they need to address. Like all people want is like a new dungeon fractal raid.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, would be a new strike mission.
Yeah.
But
which I think they talk about later in when we get to the magazine. I think they go further in to answer that question. Yeah. That they're going to try to make the living story, like after you do it, it's going to kind of unlock as like a more challenging content, which
Right.
It seems like it's almost like an evolution of what they had in season 2 with like some of the achievements. So I'm curious. I want to see it before it's like yay or nay. It's
because I think that's what people wanted. I love doing season 2 achievements. I still haven't done some of them because they're actually challenging. Now they're probably a breeze for me, but that like having interesting things to do after you're done living story is very helpful. And if there's repeatable stuff in the story instance, you want it to be something that's interesting to do and not just like, oh, take this path, for example.
Right.
And then for achievements outside the story, you want it to be interesting enough that people are willing to go out and do it. And like you want to add some challenging bit for people who want to challenge. That's about it.
I thought that was a strike mission. The end boss becomes a 10-man.
A harder replayable boss. Yeah. I mean, that's fine if that's what they do, but hopefully people do it. And I wonder if Dragon Bash that system,
the arena thing.
Yeah, that system that they had. I wonder if that's gonna play into it too.
Maybe it was like a small test for the concept.
Yeah, because that'd be really cool. And if they, as long as they don't like block you with the rewards, and like maybe at like level 900, level 99, you like, if you reach 100, that means like you've beaten it, type of thing. And now it's become like you're on a leaderboard, and then see how much time it takes you. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
be interesting.
I think because I'm not a huge fan of adventures, but I think something like that for strike missions, if it's challenging enough and there's a leaderboard, I think people will be interested in doing that.
Could be fun.
Yeah. But it all depends. I think strike missions will be good starting out, but I like a year and a half later, we'll see how it works out.
Yep. Well, we'll see how like it works out long term, which is always the question.
And I mean, I think this has stemmed like a lot of the stuff that people are saying, like ArenaNet's bad at communicating, which I know in the past it's not been the greatest, and I think it's also a lot to do with the community doing it as well. It's not just all on their side, but I know a lot of people the past week, one of the posts was saying, looking at Path of Exile as an example, and
trigger me, man. All right.
Well, I find it kind of funny that the one that they show is basically, it's along the lines of a feature of, they have a like masters, which I think there's like 5 of them. There might be more, but think of them as like kind of like masters of each kind of style of fighting. So almost along the lines of the gods, like how they've kind of had their own realm type things. And if they gave you dailies at the end, and they're saying, and granted it was from the CEO apparently, but they were talking about, a lot of people, we made it so you would only get 2 a day instead of like, I guess all 5 or something. A lot of people complained about that, and I want to get the exact wording on here because I think it's just funny that people are using this as the shining example of, see, this is a company that cares. And I know they're communicative, but this one as a example, comparing it to major features that are coming out, but basically they're going to make it so in the next update, all the people are going to get, all the masters are going to give you dailies. But they just said, either way, feedback on Reddit about this change was negative and we didn't feel strongly about it, so are changing it based on this feedback. When you log in, you will now receive daily missions from each of the 5 masters. First off, if you're equating 2 dailies versus 5 dailies to living story content, strike missions, all that stuff as communicate, like, you're just trying to find something to complain about. I mean,
yeah,
thing.
The level of difference is very hard. Like, I pulled up one example recently: the chaotic, the mesmer trait that was broken, so they disabled it and they communicated that. That's the example that compares to that Path of Exile one.
Yeah.
Like, and they've talked about it, and I think it's just a little bit hypocritical. So, like, you want people to communicate, but you have to accept that some of the bad things they communicate and they say the reason, but you can't jump on them for that. Like, I remember the legendary weapons being postponed because they're trying to fix hot. It's like, oh, okay, cool, I understand. Then, like, people jumped at their throats for that, so I'm like, okay, you expect them to communicate after that, like.
And I think the other important thing to pick out from that thing that they got them from Grinding Gears, I think it's Grinding Gears Games or something like that, the company that does PoE, they even said, like they said, feedback on Reddit about this change was negative, and we didn't feel strongly about it. Wait until they release their melee combat thing that they've I think, announced that they've been working on it for maybe close to a year and a half, 2 years or something. And probably more behind the scenes, knowing, development, and say, oh, well, we don't like this, change it back. They'd probably be like, you'll learn to like it. Like, they're like, the blood, sweat, and tears, like, kudos to the people that write the dailies and all that stuff. I don't want to belittle, like, the dialogues and stuff that goes into it, but probably the blood, sweat, and tears that went into that versus probably redesigning the melee systems and combat in that game, probably I wouldn't call equal. But it's just,
isn't Warframe doing a Melee 3.0 at this point?
Yeah, and they're slowly working on it.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. It's just like, yeah, and it's like they're used to raging, and I understand. But it's like, because they're not getting news about the content that they play or care about a lot. And I understand that a lot. Believe me, I understand that a lot. But, like, it comes down to, like, and if you were using this announcement as, like, your make or break thing, then just make a decision, or you, like, go play other games and come back when the content that you want is good. And I understand there are mono gamers who just want to play Guild Wars 2, or there's people who don't want to stop playing, but, like, you kind of have to accept that this is a game. This is a more casual friendly game.
Well, also, and a lot of people have had that mentality of Arena never listens to us, the community, which I do want to credit the person, Daybroker on Reddit, that responded to one of these things and was, they talked about, all the bad feedback they got about hot masteries taking too long to unlock, elite specs taking too long to unlock, map currencies being too grindy. Well, but that was a lot of stuff around hot, like all that stuff that they made, and they made that big adjustment, like patch type thing. Then you have, down the road, fractal instabilities haven't changed as a direct result of feedback. They, like, so, we didn't get an update for the fractal instabilities, but that's because when they showed it, they were like, people that, they responded to that feedback and said, well, that's, that doesn't feel like that'd be good in game, which, I mean, we talked about last week and we'll talk about a little here this week. They're coming up with WvW balance changes and they're saying, these are the goals that we want to set out. Is this answering these questions? Like, would it be a good fit? If it's not, they'll, from past experience, hopefully go, okay, well, let's not put that in because a player might have saw something that we didn't. It's more eyes on the subject, but.
Yeah, it's like, it's people who, for Mr. Ed's points, it's for people who wanted, like, the old school Guild Wars 1 experience of just exploration. And then with Hot, they introduced a lot more challenging content. in terms of the world itself and the metas, which were actually challenging.
Well,
But
they also, just not to interrupt you, but to throw in, part of the reason that they made the world itself more challenging was because in the base version of the game, that was a big criticism a lot of people had, was that the base world was just too simple to wander around and you had
Yeah.
no challenge there.
so you have basically two bodies of people who want like a challenging experience, and then you have another body of people who want a more explorative, easygoing type of experience. Um, but the difference is, Mr. Red, is that they're a lot more casuals and a lot more hardcore. So
And
yeah,
and where's
and I
this
think
where's this
making content for
weird
both.
line of what defines a casual and hardcore? I know a lot of people that are
Yeah.
play a lot of hours, more than 3, that just like to go into the world and experience the world and might not necessarily want a challenging one. I did like Hot's launch thing, like you had to dodge and
I
stuff,
loved
but
it too. Yeah, it's
yeah,
really a lot of fun. I like that the fact that it was like it took me time to get my elite spec in. I like the time that I was kind of blocked off some of the things. Not necessarily the hero points to get my stuff. I didn't like getting blocked constantly with that on that, but I liked how like I actually have to work towards my masteries and things like that. So it's fun. Yeah. It's just I much rather they cater to both audiences, give what they want so that everyone's happy.
It's a hard balance to make, though, because almost no matter what you do, there are going to be people who are mad.
Yeah,
and people that are happy with the game aren't complaining on aren't going to forums because they're content in the game. That's always the thing. It's like you always hear the negative, which is the unfortunate thing.
Yeah, and in the end, I think sadly the business side will determine like what makes us more money. So
right,
and I think we've talked about in the past. Maybe I think they've kind of always had that problem because we talked about moving from core to hot and it swaying one way into the difficulty with the metas and stuff, and a lot of people were like, oh, can we have a mix or like not kind of more core maps? So in POF it kind of went the opposite way of it did feel a lot more core maps, but and I even liked some maps were like would lock down. Like I like Dragonstand. What I didn't like about hot was every map did that, and I was like, okay, like so, but they swung the other way on POF. Like that's why I was like hopeful. It's like, oh, if they do another expansion or whatever's next, they do a mix. Like it's
because they have like regional metas in POF. I would want to say, like the Moon Oasis has like a night meta. I think that's the only one. And there's Augury Rock, I think. And is there any other metas? Like regional metas, I guess. Because I can't think of it.
In POF, I thought all of them had like a section of a meta type thing, but it's just it didn't lock down a map. But and that, like Chad's saying, hardcore isn't time played; it is their approach to the game. And that, I think that's also the problem is there's so many definitions for hardcore versus casual. It's basically it sometimes boils down to the person that's talking about it. How can they fit themselves into hardcore? It's like
essentially you just want challenging content, but you also want content that anyone can do. You want to satisfy both of those criteria to keep pretty much everyone in PvE happy. In terms of PvP and Romus World, you just need to like have good balance pretty much in the mode itself and the professions. That's a really short synopsis, but like there's a lot goes into that, but basically.
The one of the things like I've always said is I love the base game and I loved hot and I love POF. But what I love about all of those things are vastly different, and I wish they can find a way to smish it together to make it all work together.
which is nice. It's like, because you can go back and say, well, all three, like those things you like are there, and like you said, core. But it is that problem that we're hearing now is, well, you're not talking about my thing that I love. It's like, so yeah, they gotta somehow try to find that magical balance that is literally different for everyone. It's but
move
yeah,
on to the next topic.
Yeah,
Spent a long time there.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, and I'm curious with chat. I know on Reddit, they talked about the someone I think last week made a feature list, which we were gonna try to include in there, but I think just for sake of time, and maybe next week we'll talk about it. But if you guys want to look at kind of the features, and I would say don't roll out things that you've known about, because I know that's when some people said about build templates, but that's how devs give feedback. Like when we talk about later about they're bouncing these ideas off these world v world balance things, are we going to not consider that an update when they give it to us because they talked about it? Like,
right.
I mean, but anyway, like, there was someone that came back that did a feature update list, which I think you could stick some of those in there. And granted, and I think that's also the problem that I think people are having, is that they're slowly trying to reveal on, because even at the HOT announcement we didn't know everything. But I think they're slowly trying to reveal what might be in this saga, which will hopefully fill that feature list, and we get more definition on what a strike is, what this content is that once you go through the story becomes more difficult, and is that the strikes, is that this, is that it's
I think
a lot of confusion.
I think for episode 1 we should look at what's going to be different. What's going to be different from the last season of episodes that come out, because
is that episode 1, or are we gonna, is it
no, like Living World season 4, like, because it's going to be a transition, right, to something different. So like, what's going to be different? Like, there will be, like, I know there have been a few complaints about the story. Will people enjoy the story more? Will people enjoy the mastery that comes out more, if there is one, and all that stuff? Are there going to be legendaries? Or there's going to be challenging content, the strike mission, all that stuff? Like, just pay attention to the differences of Living World season 4 and this season, and just try to see what's different and see what you like and don't like about it. That's what I'm probably going to do going into it.
Chat's saying just a single tweet saying, yes, we are working on making Wing 8 would give the community a lot of hope. Yeah, but then it all would switch into when? When's the date? When?
Yeah, that's setting yourself up at this point. But like, the cadence has been every 9 months, which is brutal, I understand. Yeah, I've talked about this already. It's like, it's hard to make a new wing with like varying different mechanics that are slightly different, that could be slightly different than, like, you don't want to reuse the same mechanics. You want to give something new and challenging, but it's like, it's a whole different thing. Good question. Will be a 3rd generation? I have no idea if there'll be a 3rd gen of legendaries. It really, that's one of the things I'm really interested in looking at.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but my guess would be no. Not at this point.
But I saw a lot of people saying earlier, and I've seen it throughout the past week or so, that, and leading up to it, that I'd rather have an expansion than whatever the Saga or Living World or whatever this next iteration is, which they actually surprisingly, where was the article? PC Game SN. We'll throw the link in chat just in case.
Hi.
PC Games N, my apologies. But they got to actually sit down with Mike Z, and it looked like there was a PR manager there as well. But this was occurring post Icebrood Saga announcement, of course. But one of the biggest things that came up on the topic of kind of the content path moving forward, which is it going to be free content versus expansion? Mike Z did say that they don't think they have an answer for that one yet in particular. For them, at least today, they know that with the stuff that they want to give, the quality of life improvements, the story we're trying to tell, Icebrood Saga is the best way that they can deliver free content to the players. Now, whether or not they change that method moving forward is a different conversation at that point. So, kind of open there, but also the PR manager kind of talked in there and said, obviously, everyone at the studio knows that there's a demand for an expansion, so it's not like they're ruling it out, which so we're gonna go back to hot and
yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world, to be honest, in my opinion. But I understand that it's like the standard for an MMO, right? Like it's a standard that's set. Like if there's like a huge bunch of content to push out to like reinvigorate MMO player base is an expansion. I think ArenaNet's trying to do something different with Living World, just to give consistent content rather than just pushing it all out at once. But
well, I was reading something interesting that the expectation for MMOs to do big expansions is a carryover, I think, expectation for players and I think publishers, because it's a big influx of money when you sell an expansion, but it's not really necessary anymore. Like it used to be necessary when like you had to send out a bunch of CDs or DVDs with the game updates, and then you update it like that way. But now, since it's like digital and they just send you patches and stuff, there's no real reason why an expansion has to exist as an expansion other than creating influx of money for the company.
Yeah, do we redefine what an expansion is in this day and age for an MMO?
Well, I mean, are you taking it from a business side or a game development? Like, is it anything that expands the game X amount of, times, or is it like Arlie saying a big influx of money? Because that's why I'm curious if they've been experimenting, and we talked about it last week and continued in the gem store, those bundle packages.
Yeah.
We were talking last week, and I forget who said it in chat. It might have been Mr. Red that was saying it, but they weren't planning on buying this one, but last one that they had, they bought, which if they can get, even 3 in a year or even more or something, if they get you at the very get-go, it's still pretty much the price of one of these expansions. So they only have to get you for one of them from a business side that intrigues you enough. And that's if, so I'm curious if, and there's going to be people that buy all 3 or 4 or whatever may come out, because it is a good deal, but
it's just, it's interesting because it's just like, is this the trend? Because like it's akin, like that package I always said is like akin to a sub, but it's like a 3-month sub type of deal, I guess.
Yeah,
it's like an upfront optional sub.
Yeah. So I thought they were going to do that with. I don't know if they're going to do it with every episode now, but like, and I was wondering if they're going to do that. If they're going to do this every episode, will they ever do an expansion because they do this? Because if they consistently get decent money from this for like a year, and will they put an expansion on top of that? Like,
now,
that there's a lot of questions there.
And Chad's saying not rolling it out is sugar coated, saying we fear if we roll. But you can't say that because in
Hey,
core they were saying we have no
hey.
plans for expansion, and then they went to expansion. They listened to
Yeah.
their player base. Like,
I think what it really comes down to is if they can keep revenue up at a good
yes,
level consistently, then they'll be fine not doing expansions. If they can't, then
They'll
NC
do an
Soft
expansion.
is going to be like, you have to do an expansion because it's pretty much guaranteed influx of money.
That's what I feel too. Because if they can't consistently give out a Raid Wing, a Fractal, Living Story, and do the updates to PvP and World vs. World as needed, it kind of warrants some sort of expansion, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like Old Ranger said, we need to see what comes through. Because I guess NC Soft is giving Arena the opportunity with this Icebrood Saga stuff.
Mm-hmm.
See what they come through with.
QED, if you have no faith in the company but still want to kind of be in the realm of things, or like, then yeah, that's the route you go. If you are confident in the game, I mean, I have slowed down on a lot of gem purchases, you know, in core, hot, and stuff. When a new thing was coming out, I'm like, I'm playing this game. This is my hobby. Sometimes threw money, sometimes I threw the gold in, sometimes a combination of both. But
yeah, QED brings up something that I've been practicing a lot these days, not just with like Guild Wars 2, but with like any game or game company. Like, if you do not like what a company is doing, do not buy things. Like, side note, EA has kind of dropped the ball a lot, and I haven't bought a game from them in 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And the only recent game that I've played was Apex Legends, and then when they announced surprise mechanics, that's when I just uninstalled because like I had enough. And then thankfully it did, because then they had that stupid Iron Crown event where you had to buy 20 skins to have the privilege to buy an exclusive axe skin.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
it's a feature.
Yeah, but that's like the worst end of the spectrum. If you don't like what Guild Wars 2 is doing, don't spend gems. Like,
and I know people kind of use it as a negative thing of like go to the lump conclusion of don't like it, don't play. That's such a brutal way to say it, but the most valuable thing to you is your time and your money. Like, to them, it's like it's a business. Your money,
and then like if you're not getting the content you want after a while and you just had enough, I would say don't waste your time or come back later. But like, if you're going to continue playing, you need to understand like what's going to happen to you and mentally during this time period of waiting, so
because I still remember, I forget what game it was one of the like Call of Duties or something where they were making some big change and people were boycotting the game. And this happens multiple times. It's not just Call of Duty, but people take pictures and go, "This is why game developers don't take players seriously." Is this because I guess they had like you could link your accounts through Steam or whatever, but it was like they saw all these Reddit users that were posting, "Yeah, we're boycotting the game," and then day one of the release, they're in there playing that game. It's like, no matter how much you talk, if you're still buying it, they're not like.
It's like Bethesda fan base, honestly.
Whoa. No, I'm kidding. Go for it.
I'm gonna go in on it. That's like, come on, Fallout 76 was not a good game. Let's be honest here. But like, there are fans that will just play out Fallout no matter what. So, like Elder Scrolls 6. If that game launches just as bad or even worse as Fallout 76, there will still be a huge amount of players playing that game. I guarantee that to you.
I mean, if it's a regular Elder Scrolls game, even if it's buggy, I mean, that's how an Elder Scrolls game always was. So I'll probably be playing it, as long as it's not like we're making it a survival game. But anyway, that's kind of
Yeah, that's like, but yeah, it's like there's gonna be a fan base. Like same thing with EA and FIFA. There's like FIFA card packs are like ridiculous. You're spending $16,000 on a game within 3 months, but there's a fan base for that. There's a fan base for Madden. There's a fan base for NBA 2K. There's a lot of shady things going on in those games, but people are gonna play them because they like those games. So it's there's accountability on us as the gamers to like say we've had enough. So but until that happens,
but yeah, I mean, kind of going back to what QD is saying, like, don't buy anything till you see an expansion. If that's your choice, that's your prerogative, sure. Or maybe after Icebrood stuff releases, you're like, I've enjoyed it enough. Maybe they released more group content or talked about it. As soon as you start to feel like it's worth it, yeah, throw some money at it. It is their hobby, but
Yeah.
But yeah, and I agree. It is kind of talking about gaming in general and stuff like that. But
I feel kind of bad now because I remember Arlie likes Dragon Age.
No, it's fine. I always want to boycott EA because they've done so many terrible things. But the only games I ever buy are the BioWare ones. I have a BioWare game.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, like, buy what you want, play. I'm not saying like people should buy what they want, obviously. Like,
I mean, I would be much happier if I never bought another EA game ever, but I can't not play Dragon Age or Mass Effects when they come out. It's just not possible.
Should just tell BioWare to split off. And there you go.
I wish.
But yeah, it is one of the things we can talk about during after show. But I know a lot of people were talking about another thing that came out this week related to Icebrood that said this should have been what the thing was about, not do the announcement, whatever. But granted, while I was fine with the announcement, I still think this was pretty awesome. It was their Icebrood Saga prologue magazine, which I kind of took a video of it skimming through there. Which I do want to say first, kudos to the first people I saw that mentioned it were One Big Pair from Host of Ascalon. If you look at the the barcode thing at the bottom, it actually has the original release date, 2012 8/28. So like a nice little thing, but it's basically a virtual magazine. I know a lot of people were wondering if there was a real one, but yeah, I mean this is kind of like floor to floor, like cover to cover, a lot of ads and stuff like there, like like to their merchandise. Hey, if you want to make an account, and the nice thing was it's interactable, so it's like, hey, want to make an account, you can click there and it'll take you to the buy.guildwars2.
Also similar to a lot of magazines, because many magazines have a billion ads. Like I remember getting through like some of my subscription magazines being like, wow, there's 10 pages of content and the rest of this is ads.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
See, back in our day, we had to order magazines.
Yeah.
Like Nintendo Power. Oh,
Game
man.
Informer.
Had to have a subscription to a magazine.
That was great.
But I also really liked how
I'm sure people went into GameStop still, they would probably start to push that magazine still. It's like,
I have a whole thing against GameStop.
Well, that'll be an after show thing.
Yeah.
It was just showing that page of the dragons and the description of each of them. I love that because some of the written in comments to me feel very much like conversations that they probably had at some point, like the one about destroyers where they're like,
well, and that's the thing. It's an added note from Gore because it says like the Elder Dragons or something with.
Well, I know that, but I was just saying for me, it feels like a lot of conversations they probably have had at various points in time. Like I can imagine a new writer coming on and getting familiar with all the characters and everything and being like, destroyers? Really? Destroyers? Like, that felt real to me. So will you stop biting me?
imagine if they released this kind of quality with every episode. I think that's asking a
Yeah,
bit
that's.
much.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
It's nifty.
It's nifty.
I mean, maybe if they could.
You never know. Yeah. I
No,
mean,
I'm just
because
saying, like maybe if they could get the Guild Wars 2 art program people in on it. I don't know, because I know they had an article with one of the people in there, and it had a link to their page. And
yeah, because some of the synopsises sound like stuff that you would see in patch notes.
All right. Also, Destiny's Pledge, that little advertisement for the romance novel of not Logan and not Ritlock was hysterical.
also, the metal band, they're not going to every capital city.
I know.
But yeah, chat saying, how hard could it be to make this? I never like speculating on that kind of stuff. I mean,
a lot of time. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into that. Like, do not.
Actually, I would be very curious because I know you have some experience with it, but like, I can't wait till next TRA now through the virtually interrupted stuff. That because I know Miko and I think Aaron, like they had a lot to do with the Guild Wars 2 mag, which is basically doing the same thing and then making a physical version, but they also do. Granted, they don't have the interactable thing. Maybe now. Right. Oh, well, not a Guild mag one, of course, but
yeah.
But I they would probably have even better insight, I know, than I would on how to. I know they put a lot of effort with. There was a lot of effort back and forth when our little thumbnail of people that are supporting us type thing. It was the talking Skritt there. So there was a lot of back and forth just to that. Multiply just that a couple times, and then you have the articles and the stuff. And so it's probably pretty time consuming.
I just realized in the video, if you click on the little card that says no subscription and all of that, it pops open as if you had torn it out of the magazine. Yeah. That's amazing. I love that. Yeah,
they have a lot of really nice attention to little details in there. But yeah, there's some real ads from, Wild Bangerang, For Fans by Fans, HyperX. But they also kind of go into some of the, and I think I clicked on these ones in particular, was Bangar Runebringer, Cresia, Stoneglow, and Javi Jor's daughter.
Yep.
And I think they also had Ritlock and Bram in there, but yeah, definitely go check out the book. But I'm kind of curious with, I didn't realize this with Cresia Stoneglow. Kind of goes in there talking how she has past, her heritage is from the Flame Legion, which we know is going to show up in the next prologue thing as the whole meeting thing. But what really interested me was, she's part of her one of her old war band members was Ritlock, and all it says is don't talk to her about Sohathan. What do you think I'm gonna do day one? Like,
I was gonna say, if there's not an option to talk to her and ask her about Sohathan, I'm gonna be really, really upset.
What if you do and she's just like you get like a knockback on you,
dude,
like she punches you away?
She punches you and knocks you back or something. That would be the best. Like, I'm gonna be sad if it's not something like that. It'd be great.
But yeah, later, Cub. Yeah, she just blows you off. And yeah, it has some art in there. Talks about the different spots in Grothmar Valley. I mean, are there anything like other things that you guys pulled out from it? You were talking about Destiny's Pledge.
Yeah. No, I really like the whole thing and all the little attention to detail kind of things they put in. I know some people, like we said, are annoyed by the ads, but for me, it's just like, that's a magazine. Like, seriously.
But yeah. Do you have any other thoughts, Age, on the magazine? Age? Are you?
Who did we lose him?
You've lost me.
No.
Do you have any other thoughts on the magazine? I guess not.
Well, yeah. I just find I was thinking about it, and it's just like I think it's interesting. I think the most interesting part is Javi,
Mm-hmm.
just because I think because like the part that that Arlie brought up with Bram, being kind of punished with that's going to play into really
Yeah, it's
cool.
based on your legend, and she got a pretty big. Bram thought he had a tough boots to fill with air. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was Kracia is interesting, but I have my own little theory about that, so I'll wait until I see the prologue for that.
Okay, and yeah, for people that aren't familiar, Javi, Jorah's daughter, is a descendant of Jorah, who was a character in Guild Wars 1.
Said in the description she's Jorah's granddaughter.
Oh, did it say granddaughter? Okay, I wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, great grandmother's legend.
Oh, great granddaughter.
Okay. Ever.
But yeah, so and we're gonna be dealing with Sons of Spawn here, so
yay! I love killing them.
Oh, and chat saying Kracia is mentioned in the Twine stories before episode 6.
But she's gonna be like more prevalent. Yeah. Like all the characters you saw in the character profiles are gonna be like the prevalent characters in the story in the Saga.
I didn't want to spoil it, but yes, if you want to know more about Kracia and who she is, then go read Ritlock's story that they put up a while ago.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and check it out because I know he talked about his past, but it's just.
That's why I'm waiting for the prologue to see if I'm. Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I'm like, really, if they don't let us ask her about what her thoughts about like Ritlock having it are, I'm going to be very sad.
we're just gonna leave it at that.
I'm still excited once chat or last week when Grothmar Valley is basically the combination of the two areas in Guild Wars 1. And that is basically where Kralkatorg was. So I'm hoping we get to see some kind of big giant crater.
Right. Oh, they did say in there with the prologue we'll get a map. So
yeah.
Like that's confirmed.
Oh, there was one thing I actually have a question for. When are those instruments that metal band has gonna be in the gem store? Because I need those drums.
Yeah.
That guitar. The mic needs to be. I don't know if they can sell the mic, but like, I need the drums. Okay.
Are they actually? What I want to know is, are they actually going to make a Char metal band and have in the game playing?
Yeah, the bass is already.
The chat's saying the bass is already in the gem store. But.
I need the guitar. I need the drums.
I thought there was an electric guitar.
Nope. I would have it.
Huh.
I would have it.
But yeah,
there's
can't wait. And it will be 10 days literally from today's live show. But yeah, so can't wait to see. I mean, I think that stuff will hit the gem store in game or something. You gotta let them go on their tour first. They gotta hit their five towns or whatever.
I actually wonder if they're actually going to go to each of those.
That's what I'm saying.
I have a feeling that it will be. But
yeah, like if they don't do that, I'm going to be sad because I think that's a cool idea. It'd be fun.
What was it? Divinity's Reach next? Was it?
I believe so. I think it was that Divinity's Reach, Lines Arch. I forget what the other one was, but I know it missed. I want to say it missed Holbreck and the Silvar and the Pale Tree. So I think then it goes to the Acern one. But I think it only missed 2 of the capitals. Which I'm surprised by, maybe that's a hint with, is, I mean, if they're all Char metal band, are we still in this whole weird thing of, have they said in game that the treaty has been passed? Because I know Divinity's Reach is cool with it, but outside of that, it's kind of
It's
you know.
no, there's a treaty, but I still think there's some people like Vanguard who's like still a little prejudiced.
I'm
And
just
there's
wondering, like, I guess in-game mentality, it's like even though the Divinity's Reach is like a safe place, they could easily get into there. Whereas
Well, I mean,
it'd be
Scarlet had her whole attack in Divinity's Reach and stuff.
Mhm.
You mean like Char in Divinity's Reach?
Yeah, in the sense of it might not be a safe place for the metal band because maybe
I don't.
All the Char gather in Ebonhawk, Ebonhawk,
yeah,
Ebonhawk.
Ebonhawk.
Ebonhawk, and then like rush the portal, go through and take over Divinity's Reach.
That would be kind of cool. I remember there's like Char Cubs in Divinity's Reach.
I know there's some outside because there's that one quest at the very beginning where they pretend that they're different members of Destiny's Edge, and I thought there was a Char there.
I thought that was in.
Or were they all humans?
Lion's Arch. That were the.
Well, there's a little event that you can quiz the kids on. Maybe that was all humans, and then the Char were in the Lion's Arch. I don't know. It's been a while.
Huh.
But
that's a good question because we don't. Well, obviously, there's not. Actually, now that I think about it, in each of the major cities, they don't have any other race in there.
yeah.
Maybe Divinity's Reach is the exception, but
I don't think so.
I distinctly remember Char Cup in there. I don't.
Do you remember where?
I think like on the left, near like the home instance bit, but like I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but
well, we digress. See what a little bit of hype can do. That's the dangers of expansions. Hype can lead on to all this and all the sadness that some people had. So see, bringing it all back to all the other stuff. But speaking of sadness, this past week on Twitter, Samantha Walschlager stated that this was her last week at ArenaNet. For people that don't know, she was a senior writer / narrative designer since October 2017. Basically, she said over the last 2 years, she's met so many amazing collaborators and lifelong friends. She's sad to be leaving them, but all she really said was she's incredibly excited about what she's doing next and can't wait to share it soon. So it sounds like it's an awesome opportunity. I mean, she put in all caps, like, so incredibly, part of excited. Like, this might be like a dream job for her. So
maybe
can't wait to hear what she'll be doing next. But it is sad to see her go.
Yeah, I'm really sad to see her go. She's just a sweet person, and she writes really well. She had said that she had a lot to do with the Kate story that was published, so that's probably a good example of like.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, she's a good person, good writer too. We'll see what she does next.
So we wish her well and can't wait to see what else she does. Also, the little bit of a issue that broke the glyph of reaping and the reaping tools in general. So apparently the glyph of reaping, Reaper's mining pick, Reaper's logging axe, and Reaper's harvesting sickle have been temporarily disabled so that they can address an issue. They'll re-enable the items after the issue has been corrected, which apparently the issue is, I think it was giving back, what was that? Like broken,
returning ruined mats.
Yeah, ruined materials. So, but
it's like, I know I wanted to use the glyph of reaping, but this is not what I had in mind.
But yeah, so team plans to correct this in the September 17th release. They will update if it changes, but they thank you for your patience and understanding. But yeah, so
I'd like to point
if
out
you are using that and are wondering what's happening to all your ore and stuff, switch it out quick.
Yeah.
Oh, I just found a char in Divinity's Reach wandering around.
Haha.
Question him.
Yeah.
That's
So-
interesting.
So you better be careful if you question him. He might start a war. A
Mhm.
war between cultures. Maybe even a war between worlds. Speaking of world versus world, we talked about last week kind of future potential, and that's important to specify, potential world-centric balance changes, which I think last week's were more centered around, I think, making it easier to remove, making it harder to remove conditions, but almost easier to apply them. And at least that's what the kind of consensus people were saying. And we were, and it did stem the same questions this time around, which I know last week we were saying, isn't that going to make like scourges even worse? Like, are you going to disable scourges like you did with mesmers? Is that how you're going to get the workaround? Like, how's this going to happen? But it is important to note once again with this update, and we'll throw it in chat here so people can play along. That basically the questions that they want to look at are, would your gameplay change as a result, and how? Do you feel these changes would improve or worsen the state of the game? And remember, it is kind of world centric, so are you looking forward to these potential changes, and why? What are your concerns and the consequences you expect with this set of changes? Which I'm definitely curious. I know we got a lot of people here that enjoy kind of speculating and picking apart, builds and stuff like that. I know it looks like engineer, the purge gyro, reduced the number of cleansing pulses. I wonder if that was the same as last week, because it sounds like kind of around the same vein of once again making it hard to.
It said the things in italics was something. The previously posted and unchanged items are italicized at the bottom of each profession section, so that it should be easier to focus on the new and changed parts of those changes. So if it's in normal text, it's new.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say because it looked somewhat different from the one last week, but still says about switching the 5 to 3 pulses. But pending the superior rune of antitoxin. So one of the biggest things is this antitoxin rune that they are changing. So they change it so that instead of increasing outgoing condition cleanses by 1, it instead increases incoming condition cleanses by 1. Thus only affecting the wielder, but allowing it to scale up with external cleanses.
Oh, okay.
And chat saying the biggest thing from there is the changes to Sand Savant, which I haven't got to. It is no change at all, but the first real acknowledgement of the problem. Oh, okay. Yeah, Sand Savant. They said we've wanted to address the target cap issue. Yes. With this trait in World v World for a while. However, it is at an incredibly gnarly problem, because this is a large functional change that would need to be preserved between game modes. This was why the cooldown split was made on this trait originally. We hear you that the trait is an issue and we're working on it. This is a tough case to crack in a manner that does not leave one mode suffering due to the changes made for another. So
yeah.
Okay.
Which kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier of like, what about Scourge? And so yeah, they're definitely aware. I was pretty sure that they were aware that Scourge was an issue in World v World, but it's good to see it written, but that they're trying to figure out a way.
Oh, that's the larger shade one. Okay.
But which I think if they deal with Scourge in World v World, I really don't have I mind what we talked about last week of how it's now more of a challenge to kind of remove cleanses, because that, I mean,
Yeah, on the professions that have it, I guess it makes sense. Like I know engineer has a bunch of cleanse nowadays. Guardian probably does too.
Well, like I said, that's what they were trying to scale back in some of these
So
before.
yeah, so it seems like they put it on the ones that have like a lot of it.
But yeah, I guess that's the biggest thing is they're aware that Necromancer, specifically Scourge, is problem in World. So hopefully we'll, get further news. And it seems like, yeah, they're updating this kind of weekly or coming up with a new idea for it. So hopefully in another week, they'll maybe let us know what the new World centric balance plans are. But is there anything else in the patch notes that you see or potential patch notes? Sorry.
No.
Do you like the potential notes style? They're doing it.
Yeah, because I think it is open to the communication thing, and I like that they're giving that preliminary. This is what we want to know from you, like.
Right. I think it's a good way to get some focused feedback.
Yes. But yeah, so hopefully we get to see more, and it was within a week, so they're constantly gauging it, and I think they even said last week that these aren't the only patch notes, that they have more, which I think harks back to what you're saying is they want to look at more focused. They don't want to just say, here's all the things we're thinking of, and you're like, well, this one thing with the engineer and having 5 different conversations with one person of like,
Right.
well, the condition remover engineer, and then the power rating for Necro, and then the boon up time for, it's like, they can, like you said, focus a lot more. So but yeah, see, they want to hear from their player base, so this is one of the opportunities you can voice your concerns for this in specific. So don't run in there and start going, the announcement, you didn't talk about raids.
Yeah.
Please never do that kind of a thing. But yeah, any other thoughts on the world balance change, potential balance change?
Nope.
I don't think this was in the magazine. They did talk about the wild bangerang stuff, but this past week they showed off a new wild bangerang item, and it is a Guild Wars 2 jersey, which looks pretty awesome. It's approximately $55 US. Does have the original GW2 logo on the sleeves and back, as you can see there. And I'm definitely curious. And just in case, chat, if you are so inclined to wanting it, here's the link. And if you're watching this on YouTube, link will be in the description. But yeah, I'm curious. Is this something you guys would be interested in?
I kind of want the Guild Wars 2 logo in the front, and then you can have a special, you have your name in the back with the number.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I'd say on the front it just kind of has the writing Guild Wars 2.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind this, but then having a second one that does that, and for an additional cost or something.
I would say, yeah, if they're putting your personal name on it, it would have to be a additional cost, and
that's fine.
And that's even if they have a supplier that is willing to do that. I mean, that's the other.
Right.
Because I was gonna say, does Wild Bangerang have any other personalized stuff? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think I've ever seen anything personalized on there.
Now, what if they did the general ones?
Gigantic, so.
Yeah. So what if they did general ones, like one for each of the races, like Norn, and has a big keg on it?
Mm-hmm.
I think you want that there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so definitely pick that up if you are interested in it. Also, we have the gem store. First off, as a quick reminder, before September 12th, make sure to pick up your free Heart of Thorns emblem clothing outfit, which kind of is that like shorts and kind of just a green t-shirt with the Heart of Thorns logo on it. I think you do need Guild Wars 2 Path of Fire, or players who already have HOT or POF can get theirs via the gem store. So also, I know we talked about it last week in the bundle, but I think these actually came out as a separate item this go around. Was the New Horizons mount skin adoption licenses and also the skin select licenses, which you'll see some of these skins here. For the adoption licenses, which is a random one from the entire pool, and do remember, once you unlock one of them, it takes it out of the pool, so you can never really get a duplicate. But for the random ones, it's 1 for 400 gems, 5 for 1800, and 15 for 5100. If you want a mount select license, which means you get to pick which one you want, it is 1200 gems a piece. So
it kind of looks, one of the Springer ones kind of looks like they took a corgi and smushed it with a Springer.
I was thinking that last week when we were cycling through them, and I was like, yeah, that looks kind of corgi-like.
When I said I wanted a corgi mount, that's not what I meant. It's
Come on,
cute.
we all know corgi's got hops. Like, bing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, these are kind of cool. They're all really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The Bone Raptor is really cool.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think they did a good job on a lot of these, but
this includes roller beetle skins too, huh?
Roller Beetle, Sky Scale, Warclaw, Griffin.
Nice.
Like I think it has some for each of them. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, so
that one looks like a tiger wearing armor. I'm sorry, that's hysterical. Especially like the hat, like it looks funny.
And I think it's the Sky Scale one that maybe is right here, the Incarnate Flame one. I know we mentioned it last week, but I saw a GIF of it where it apparently on the chest like thing right here has jiggle physics. Don't know if it's a bug, but yeah, I think it's this one right here. As you turn it, it just goes blah, 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 blah.
That's funny.
So, yeah. The chubby Sky Scale. Yeah, if you wanna. Yeah, I mean, of course, if you're flying around, I guess that's the only thing that gets a workout.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's the one you were liking, Arlie. There, the jumpy corgi looking thing. But do remember, if you, like I said, you can get those if you want. 1200 if you want to choose one. 1 for 400, 5 for 1800, 15 for 5100 for a chance at each of them. But if you want, if you select both of them, I think in the bundle that we talked about last week, which for people that don't know, let me put up the bundle. I still have it right here. We are in week 2, but that does mean you still get week 1 stuff and also week 3 and week 4, but you will pay a little bit more, which I think for this week, it is at 2,550 gems, which is still 15% off. And also, I think even at full price, it still is substantially lower if you were able to buy each of the pieces separately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, and this is the thing I was talking about earlier, was I feel like this might be their way to try to cancel out the money that they make from expansion sales, because, you know, like I said, right now, $25.50, that's still in the realm. It's like $20 or so, or
for the base.
Yeah, so it's still in the realm of people purchasing it that could equate it, and we've already had one this year, I think. You know, potentially, maybe they only do 2 a year or something, but that would still, if they get one person, that would, you know, cover it. If only one person buys one of the things, that would kind of, you know, help with the whole thing of potentially not having other expansions, but probably don't want to get down that rabbit hole again too quick. Like I said, well, we can always address it during after show, but the anniversary sales, which I don't know if I know over the past week they had the Living World Season 2, 3, and 4 stuff on sale. They had some more gathering tools, but I think you can still get the September 6th stuff, if I'm not mistaken, which are bank tab expansions, which are 35% off. And actually today, the shared inventory slot for 30% off. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you might want to hurry up because it might still be there. Not sure. But also returning are the recharging teleport to friend for 800 gems, the sky scale chair for 600 gems, and the sky scale horns package for 500 gems, which I know you were contemplating already about the recharging teleport to friend.
Yeah, I'm trying to save some money though, so I don't have that many gems, sadly.
Yeah, you can save money by not having to try and get teleport to friends or anything like that because you'll have a recharging one.
Right. I'm stocked up for a while. I'm good.
But yeah, any of the stuff that we talked about that you would recommend picking up besides the free t-shirt outfit thing?
I still am a big fan of the sky scale chair. It's
yeah,
great.
I switched gold to gems over for that, and I was definitely nice. I don't even have my sky scale mount yet, and I have that. I can lay on it. As soon as it gets off the ground, I don't know what to do with it. I go, what do you do? I don't have the training for this.
Yeah. There's something else I was gonna say that was also good. I do like pretty much all of the skins in the New Horizons pack, so that's cool.
Yeah, a lot of them are really good. I kind of like the. I think I can go back to it real quick. Let me. I remember seeing the what's the one that goes through portals? I like the raptor one. The
jackal.
The jackal. The raptor one you're seeing here, the like kind of bone or craggy looking one, but the jackal one that looks like a lightning bolt. I was like, someone should dye that yellow, and it'll look like that. What is it? The Eevee version Pokemon thing. If you put the lightning stone on it.
Electron or something like that.
Jolteon.
Thank you.
I want to say Zapdos, but I knew that was the flying one. The flying one. But that guy right there. If it can dye to yellow, you might get an in-game Jolteon. There you go. But yeah, I thought they were pretty cool looking. But yeah, last up we have Community Corner. And once again, throughout every week until October 19th, Chronicles of Tyria are doing their summer short stories, which is involving a Guild Wars 2 community writer will publish a Guild Wars 2 short story on their website. So in case you want to see it, go check it out. Also, just another reminder, Gamers Giving Back, Pink Day in LA, they're working towards that. So if you want to get involved, you can definitely try to get a hold of them. I got a couple links here, but I'm sure that Reddit post still has a lot of the information and stuff that you can get in contact with them. They have their Discord, their Twitter, and all that stuff. And also as a quick reminder, and I know I saw Guild Wars 2 tweeting it out leading up to this, but the Tyrian Gazette, we've been talking about it, from the Guild Wars 2 Artist Collective. They have their Indiegogo campaign for this nice display of stuff, which for that, if you want to part. But remember, order requests are live until September 10th, so won't be really talking about this next week. So you're coming at the home stretch here. You got till basically Tuesday. And the book is done with 82 contributors, and their attempt is to make an in-game magazine. Do remember, this is a magazine that you're physically getting that would look like something you would get from, maybe in-game Interior. So it's not an actual in-game item. Don't think that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they said proceeds are donated to Extra Life. But yeah, I think there still is some pretty high bundles in there and stuff like that. I know they had Guild Wars 2 merch, but I know that's long sold out.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can get some other pretty cool stuff. So definitely check it out. I know Age got it. I don't know, Arlie, did you ever get the tarot card ones?
I did get the tarot cards.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
I was to say, I know Age has talked about in the past of like the quality and stuff like that. So
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
So, definitely check it out. It's very high quality stuff from their previous time. So I would imagine that would carry through here.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely check all that stuff out. And I think that is it for this week. I mean, any other thoughts on Community Corner?
Mm-mm.
Lucky Noobs goes international?
What?
I don't know what that means. I know Lucky Noobs wasn't
The guild goes international. That's the guild who won
yeah.
ERP, I guess. So
No.
they have like maybe like a Final Fantasy guild or something like that. So that's cool.
Nice.
Oh. Congratulations to them. And so that is it for this week. Age, where can they find you?
I can find me on Twitch and YouTube at Age Night Road. I did a bit of streaming Tuesday. The War was Wild. Wednesday I did some more frame. I'll probably do like a little bit about that every now and then. So that's all, pretty much.
Awesome. And actually, to clarify real quick, they're saying that they've opened up their applications. That previously they've only accepted German applicants. So now they accept everyone. So if you want to be a part of Lucky Noobs, go check them out. And Robin, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Arlie82.
Awesome. And you can find me at simply_Dale on Twitch and Twitter when I have time to actually stream, which usually it's just here. So more likely, if you want to watch me stream, it'll be here on twitch.tv/MAAD, 2 A's in the MAAD. If you are just popping at the very end, do stick around. We do a bit of an after show. We also have a Warframe podcast on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Same channel, twitch.tv/MAAD. If you want to catch all this stuff, we put it up on our YouTube, youtube.com/MAAD. If you want a nice little cozy package, just go to our website, maadrealms.com. That's 2 A's in the MAAD. And we're hoping to do some more stuff. I know I got a couple things planned in the wings. I don't know when. It's all, planning can break things. Reality gets the best of us, I think. But yeah, I think that is it for this week, and we'll see everybody next time in the game. Good night, everybody.